Aloha, and welcome to Feast, Dish, and Dialogue, a podcast presented by the Hawaii Ag and Culinary Alliance, sharing conversations from the Feast Summit at the annual Hawaii Food and Wine Festival. Here, leaders across food, education, agriculture, sustainability, and tourism come together to explore the future of food systems and hospitality, and how culinary sits at the center of the visitor experience in Hawaii and beyond. In this Feast Dish episode, we feature keynote speaker Josh Feathers, executive chef of Main House at Blackberry Farm, from the Feast Summit stage. Recorded live at the summit in a session presented by Common Ground, Feathers shares how culinary excellence, agricultural stewardship, and purpose-driven hospitality can shape more meaningful and sustainable destination brands.
Well, thank you, everyone. I was explaining earlier during Chef Sherman's presentation that he does this multiple times a year, and I do this about once every 10 years, so please bear with me as I go through this. In talking about today's topics, really talking about the history of Blackberry Farm and how we got to where we are today really speaks to just about all of the subjects that we have on here. And so this is one of the iconic views of Blackberry. But in order to step back in time a little bit, we'll go back just to the history of Blackberry Farm. And this is almost identical to the Main House as it is today. But to step back even a little bit further than this, Blackberry dates back in the community to around the 1890s. In 1890, we had one of our original structures that is still in use today, which is our gatehouse. It's obviously been remodeled and touched up at this point, but was served as a schoolhouse for the children of the Cove. And then if we step forward into a little bit more into the 20th century, in and around 1936, the LeSire family, a couple, Dave and Florida LeSire, were visiting from Chicago for the inauguration of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, fell in love with the area and decided to purchase a piece of property from the Delosier family. And in doing that, scouting around the property to build the Main House here, Mrs. LeSire snagged her stocking on a blackberry bramble, and that is how Blackberry Farm got its name. That's the legend. Anyway, that's as far as we can verify, but that's what we're told. And so the Main House here, which is not much different than the way we still have the bay windows and everything as it is right here. So this is a picture from 1939 that's obviously been touched up a little bit, but we have some additions to the end of the house. If you were to look at the house as it is now for dining rooms and a couple of guest rooms. But as we fast forward now to the original drive, the white picket fence is still there. We've got a new sign, though. But fast forward now up to 1976. So this is where the Bell family comes into purchasing Blackberry Farm. So the Bell family, some of you may have heard of a restaurant called Ruby Tuesdays. Right? The Bell family was the original owners and founders of Ruby Tuesdays. So they purchased Blackberry Farm in 1976 just simply as a private residence. Mr. Bell would go back and forth from Wallen, Tennessee to Knoxville, where Ruby Tuesdays was based at the time, and would simply use Blackberry Farm as entertainment. It was very much their private residence. Now the Bells had two sons, Sam and David, and they developed this passion for hospitality as they were using this as their residence. So entertaining for dinners, for executives coming in for different things for the business. And so they began to gain this reputation for their southern hospitality. And so if we skip forward now to the mid-1980s, Ruby Tuesdays had grown and had gained the attention of some larger restaurant groups, and Ruby Tuesdays was acquired by a larger group. And so in the mid-1980s, it facilitated that the Bell family needed to move. Mr. Bell was asked to stay on as CEO, but it facilitated the family needing to move to Mobile, Alabama. Okay? And so to do this meant that it gave an opportunity for Blackberry itself, which had gained, again, a local reputation for the hospitality that they had shown. And so it was at this point that the decision was made to open Blackberry Farm to the public, to create a small luxury inn. And so fast forward now to 1990, so it takes a few years. The family has moved away. It takes a few years to build a guest house and create a few more guest rooms. So we went from about 4 rooms in the main house to or up to about 14 rooms with the addition of a guest house. And through the 1990s, Blackberry joins the prestigious Relais Chateau organization, worldwide hotel restaurant organization. And we begin to see this Southern hospitality take root. There's many accolades that come about through Southern living and Harper's Hideaway. And so that continues to build through the 1990s. Late into the 1990s, we go through one more expansion, and we add some cottages, so that takes us from 14 rooms to 44 rooms. Okay, so that is where we live in the early 2000s. Now, this is, again, our history, but it's also leading up to a vision.
You're listening to Feast, Dish and Dialogue, conversations from the Feast Summit exploring how food, culture, and hospitality shape the visitor experience in Hawaii and beyond.
So I mentioned the Bell children, Sam and David. Sam returns to Blackberry in the early 2000s with his wife, Mary Celeste. And this is Sam right here. What's up, boss? And so in the early 2000s is where we really began to see the next chapter of Blackberry Farm kind of start to materialize, because Sam comes back with a vision of what Blackberry Farm could be. After all, farm is in our name. And some guests often wondered where was the farm when they came. See, up until this point, we were a romantic getaway, a small luxury inn. And so there were some questions out there, but in Sam's mind, there was always this vision of the farm. And so in the early 2000s, we began to see this take place. Well, a few years forward, Sam gives us the proclamation that we should be the best food and wine destination in the United States, very simply. That was his vision. And in around 2005, we had the opportunity to purchase a piece of property that adjoined Blackberry Farm that had good bottomland. Now, anyone who has grown up in the mountains knows what good tillable bottomland means. It means you don't have to level anything off or work so hard to till the ground and make things work. Well, this gave us that opportunity and really kicked Sam's vision for Blackberry Farm into high gear, we'll say. And here he is walking through the garden. And so this gave us the opportunity gave us pastures for grazing, for livestock. It gave us enough flat ground to have a 3-acre garden, which we currently still have. It gave us the opportunity to create a production facility that would give us the opportunity to turn the produce that we grew in the garden, the milk that we would milk from sheep grazing in the pastures, everything turned into something that guests could see. We also had a butcher shop for artisan dry cured salami, so very old world, these authentic techniques that are back in history. And so this vision of the food and wine destination and a working farm really became the next chapter for Blackberry. This is also a point where our marketing began to change a little bit, because we also realized that we were no longer that couple's retreat and getaway, that we were now going to be open to families, because we needed to take that next step to allow everyone to take part. And so with this new vision and this focus, it really became evident how our guests enjoyed, see, there's the barn restaurant. If anyone needs to know what the blue marks on the sheep are from, I'll tell you after. It's not really a PG conversation. But it gave the opportunity for our guests to touch and see and interact with the food on the farm each and every day. So they could walk through the pastures or walk alongside the pastures. They didn't get in the pastures, but walk alongside the pastures, see the sheep, maybe pet a baby lamb at the right time of the year. That's something. They could peer into our cheese room and see our artisans making cheese out of the sheep's milk, which anyone who is aware of milking sheep, it's not a large quantity of milk that you get from a sheep. So in order to make cheese from it, it takes a lot. But for our guests to be able to touch these things and see these things and recognize the food that was on their plates at the end of the day really created a program and experience like very few places offer. For them to be able to walk through our gardens and recognize and see and interact with our farmers and our artisans, to hear the stories of the different produce and things that are growing. So, different things like, does anyone know what a turkey crawl bean is? Anybody ever heard of a turkey crawl bean? So a turkey crawl bean, this is one of my favorite stories. This is something that, now I'm educating you all on a turkey crawl bean. So a turkey crawl bean, legend has it that a hunter in Kentucky killed a turkey. And in examining the turkey's crawl, which is something we as hunters do to maybe give us clues to where more game might be, pulled out a couple of beans from the turkey's crawl that had not been ground up yet and not had been processed. Took those beans and planted them and grew into the turkey crawl bean, and that's something that's been perpetuated on through on through time. And so we also have the story of the wash day pea, which is a very small field pea and is something that during the homesteading years, of course, doing wash was a big day, was an all-day affair. And so the ladies of the house would need something that was quick to cook. So a wash day pea is a very small pea that can be cooked quickly and not necessarily need to be tended to on the stove all day. And so it's these stories that we were able to pass down to our guests as they interact with our farmers. And here we have some jams being made. But interacting with our farmers and learning these stories of everything. Now I'm clicking too far. But it's exceptional for us to be able to share these things, this information with our guests, and have them go each and every year that we share seeds. Seed collecting is something that's very, very big for us, but to have them take them home, plant them, come back the next year and ask questions about them, or to say to us, hey, these went great. My family was so excited. Now we've started our own process of saving seeds. And so this education continues to be perpetuated.
Feast, Dish, and Dialogue is presented by the Hawaii Ag and Culinary Alliance, the nonprofit organization behind the Hawaii Food and Wine Festival. Founded to strengthen Hawaii's culinary and agricultural industries, HACA connects world-class culinary events with year-round investment in education, workforce development, and local agriculture. Through programs that support students, entrepreneurs, farmers, and hospitality professionals, HACA works to ensure Hawaii's food and hospitality ecosystem continues to grow, innovate, and thrive.
And so in 2007, we added the Barn Restaurant, which is right around when everything was completed. And the opportunity also for our wine program, which is something food and wine destination. So very quickly about that, our wine program, when I started at Blackberry, we had roughly about 4,000 to 5,000 bottles of wine in our wine cellar, very small. But through all of the additions and through everything, today, just as an example, and speaks to me about kind of the program of sustainability that we've created just simply with our wine, we now have 155,000 bottles of wine in our wine cellar. It's a lot. I'm glad I don't have to inventory it. we have a wine list, a nightly wine list that is 10,000 bottles strong. So it gives you the opportunity, gives guests the opportunity to taste through different years and vintages of wines, of the same wine. And that's something that we started and began in the early 2000s. So we now have wines in our cellar that have been kept by us for 20 years. So I can't throw a whole lot of numbers at you all about different things, but that is one that even astounded me. So realistically, the last thing that I think that I have to talk about is our hospitality. Because our hospitality, I can throw so much foie gras, truffles, caviar, all these luxury ingredients. I can have you eat off the best Bernardaud china, Spiegelau crystal glasses, anything. But none of this means anything without our people. So our employees are our hospitality. Without our employees, we have no hospitality. It takes the right people doing their job each and every day with the desire to be and show Southern hospitality. So we have 18 foundations that are kind of at our core. And as we go through those, foundation number 18, we had 17 originally, and this is pictures of our team in a service. Here's one of the washed APs right here being shucked. Visions of a wine cellar with 155,000 bottles of wine in there.
If today's conversation inspires you, we invite you to experience it in person at the Feast Summit, returning Thursday, November 5th, 2026 in Honolulu during the 16th Annual Hawaii Food and Wine Festival. Mark your calendars, tickets go on sale this May. Learn more at hawaiifoodandwinefestival.com.
The guests that are receiving this hospitality from our guests, it feels genuine. When our employees love what they're doing and are there to really appreciate the investment of time that our guests have given us, because our food tells a story about everything that happens in our culture. And for us, our story is really our brand. That is everything that we have gone to from the beginning of when Chris Bell, our matriarch, was creating newsletters on her own and having those printed and sending them out on a mailing list in the early 90s to where we are today. Now we have a whole marketing team that can explain all of this much better than I can, I'm sure. But with our story being our brand, it's also our why. Our why we would even ask guests to come to the small town of Wallen, Tennessee, which we have. If you pass by the gas station and the post office that are in the same building, you've passed through Walland. That's how big it is. We don't even have a stoplight there. And to ask people to invest their most precious commodity of time is not lost on us. And once again, when we bring together Sam's vision and we bring together the people and our food, we end up at a place, a crossroads of culinary excellence and world-class hospitality and brand destination, which is really what we're shooting for. So I hope to invite each and every one of you to Blackberry Farm. This coming year, 2026, will be our 50th anniversary. So if you're looking to come to Blackberry Farm, there will be many great events happening, so it'll be a special year to come. So thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Mahalo for listening to Feast, Dish, and Dialogue. If you enjoyed this conversation, subscribe and share it with someone passionate about food, agriculture, and hospitality. To learn more about the Feast Summit and the Hawaii Food and Wine Festival, visit hawaiifoodandwinefestival.com. Be sure to join us for the next episode of Feast, Dish, and Dialogue.